All right, Bills Mafia, let's get into this one because there's a lot on the table today. Before we dive in, let me remind you this Buffalo Bills team is working every single day to get better, sharpening the roster and finding every possible edge to bring a Super Bowl back to Western New York. That's the mission, that's the standard. So, before we break down some fascinating developments, make sure you smash that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe so you never miss the latest insider news, rumors, and analysis. Now, let's talk about something that's been buzzing in Bills circles the past few days, the very real, yet tricky possibility of Buffalo making a move for Cincinnati Bengals superstar, edge rusher Trey Hendrickson. Yeah, you heard me right, Trey Hendrickson, the four-time Pro Bowler, 2020 for sack leader. An absolute nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. Here's the situation, according to NFL insiders. The Bengals and Hendrickson are at a standstill in contract talks. Cincinnati has begun listening to trade offers. Let that sink in. When a franchise starts fielding calls, it means they're not just humoring the market, it means something's broken down behind closed doors. So, should the Bills be interested? Absolutely. There's no question about it. A player of Hendrickson's caliber changes the entire complexion of a defense. Imagine pairing him alongside Greg Rousseau, Von Miller's veteran presence, and even the potential of young guys like Javon Solomon making an impact. You're talking about a pass rush that could rival any in the league, but here's the problem. Money. Always the money. The Bills are strapped, ranking dead last in available cap space with about $1.5 million to work with. That's pennies. When you're talking about a superstar like Hendrickson, his 2025 salary is significant, and any move to acquire him would also come with the expectation of an extension, likely somewhere around 3 years, $105 million, based on projections. So how could it even work? Well, Bills analyst Greg Thompson of Cover One laid out a plan that, while unlikely, is technically possible. He suggests the Bills restructure the contracts of left tackle Dion Dawkins and tight end Dawson Knox, freeing up some space. Then, in terms of trade compensation, Buffalo could send edge rusher A.J. Epinesa and a 2026 third-round pick to Cincinnati. Now, if you're a Bengals fan, maybe that doesn't sound like a fair return for the league's sack leader, but think about it. Cincinnati would get a solid rotational edge in Epinesa, who still has room to grow, plus a valuable draft pick, considering the Bengals would otherwise be left with a massive void if Hendrickson forces his way out. This at least gives them something to work with. And from Buffalo's perspective, you get your hands on an elite pass rusher, restructure his cap hit with an extension, and suddenly the Bills' defense looks scary again. Here's the thing. Bills Mafia moves like this are always a gamble. You're essentially pushing money into future years, sacrificing flexibility down the road. But let's be real, if Hendrickson helps deliver Buffalo's first ever Super Bowl, no one is going to care about the cap gymnastics in 2028. All it takes is one Lombardi trophy, and it changes everything. Now, while Hendrickson's situation is dominating the headlines, let's pivot to another huge storyline: contract extensions in Buffalo. James Cook has already been extended. Huge move, securing the backfield and rewarding a player who's become the heart of this offense. But he won't be the last. The Bills have 27 players entering the final year of their deals. That's a massive number. Most of those are one-year guys, like Joey Bosa, brought in to plug immediate holes. But there's one name that stands above the rest in terms of importance: Connor McGovern. Let's rewind for a second. When the Bills announced that McGovern would be shifting from guard to center in 2024, Bills Mafia had its doubts. I remember the groans, the questions. Can he even handle the position? Well, McGovern not only handled it, he thrived. He became the first player in Bills history to start every game at center in his first year and make the Pro Bowl. That's legendary. Now, here's the challenge. McGovern is entering the final year of his deal. He's scheduled to hit free agency in 2026. If he has another Pro Bowl year, his value is going to skyrocket, and with Buffalo's current cap situation, it might be impossible to keep him. This is where Brandon Beane has a tough decision to make. Do you invest heavily in McGovern and lock him in as Josh Allen's protector for years to come? Or do you trust the rookie, Cedric Van Prangranger, to step in when his time comes? VPG is still on his rookie deal, which makes him an extremely cost-effective option. And this is the reality of building a Super Bowl contender. You can't pay everyone. The Bills have already committed over $1 billion this offseason in extensions and signings. There are going to be sacrifices. The question is, whose? Worth fighting to keep, and who do you let walk for the sake of the future? Last week, Mitchell Trubisky made his return to Hollis Hall, the place where his NFL journey began. For Bills fans, it was just another preseason practice, but for Trubisky, it was much more. The return to Chicago wasn't just about facing his former team, it was about memories, unfinished business, and surprisingly, a reminder of his ultimate goal. And believe it or not, even though he's in his 9th NFL season and now serves as Josh Allen's backup, Trubisky made it clear he still dreams of being a franchise quarterback again. That's right. He openly admitted it. In his own words, Trubisky said, "It's a privilege and I miss that. And it's a lot of fun to be the franchise guy, especially in a city like this." Think about that for a second. This is a quarterback who has been through the highs of leading a team to a 12-4 season and the lows of being criticized out of Chicago. Yet, his fire hasn't gone out. He wants another shot, another chance to be the guy. Now, let's talk about where he stands right now with Buffalo. Trubisky isn't here to replace Josh Allen. Nobody's replacing No. 17, but what he is doing is providing security, stability, and experience. Brandon Beane himself praised Trubisky, saying the team has confidence in him if Allen were to ever miss time. And that's a major compliment, because let's be real, backup quarterbacks often don't get the respect they deserve. But in Buffalo, the backup role is crucial. We've seen how one injury can completely change a season in this league. Trubisky has been down this road before. Bills fans might remember 2021 when he first backed up Allen after a stint with the Steelers. He's now back on a 2-year deal, and the organization trusts him. That's not something you can say about every backup in the NFL. Some are just bodies. Trubisky, he's a former No. 2 overall pick with 55 career starts under his belt. That's real experience, and it matters. But let's rewind for a moment. His time with the Bears wasn't all bad. Remember 2018? Chicago went 12-4, won the NFC North, and Trubisky looked like the future. That was his best year, no doubt. But inconsistency and offensive struggles derailed what could have been a longer run in the Windy City. By the time 2020 ended, the Bears had moved on, and since then, they've drafted to more first-round quarterbacks, Justin Fields and now Caleb Williams. And here's where it gets interesting. Trubisky walking back into Hollis Hall, sharing reps in practice, throwing touchdowns, talking to old teammates and coaches. It must have felt surreal. On one hand, nostalgia. On the other, the reminder of what could have been. He admitted that the city still means something to him, that Soldier Field will always be special. He even greeted fans and talked about playoff runs like they were yesterday. Bills Mafia. Can you imagine the mix of emotions running through him now? Here's the thing, Trubisky's honesty is refreshing. He knows his role in Buffalo, but he's not hiding his long-term ambition. He said, "That's tough sometimes, I think, 'cause you always want to stay in the moment and take it day by day. But the long-term goal is definitely to be a starter and a franchise guy somewhere again." That tells us the things. First, he's committed to the Bills right now. He's not causing drama. He's not asking out. He's not demanding a trade. He's working. He's preparing. He's ready if his number is called. But second, he's not giving up on the bigger dream. And honestly, who could blame him? This league is unpredictable. One injury, one coaching change, one surprise opportunity, and suddenly you're back in the driver's seat. From the Bills' perspective, this is a win-win. They get a veteran quarterback who is motivated, hungry, and capable of leading an offensive needed. And for Trubisky, he gets the perfect environment, a stable organization, an elite quarterback to learn from, and the chance to showcase his growth in practice, preseason, or whenever opportunity knocks. Think about it, some teams are desperate for quarterback depth. If Trubisky shines in limited action this season, his stock rises, and maybe, just maybe, another franchise out there will see him as more than just a backup again. So let's bring this all together. On one hand, you've got the dream scenario, landing Trey Hendrickson, reshaping the defense overnight, and going all in on 2025. On the other, you've got the careful balancing act of keeping key players like Connor McGovern while managing the tightest cap situation in the league. It's a tightrope, but that's what makes this offseason so fascinating. The Bills are chasing history. They're not content with playoff runs or AFC East banners. The only goal is the Lombardi Trophy, and every single decision from blockbuster trades to quiet extensions feeds into that mission. Now I want to hear from you, Bills Mafia. Do you think Brandon Beane should make the aggressive play for Trey Hendrickson? even if it means sacrificing flexibility down the road. And when it comes to Connor McGovern, should the Bills back up the truck to keep him, or trust Cedric Van Prangranger as the future at center? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be reading every single one because your perspective is what makes this community so special. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We've got a massive season ahead, and you won't want to miss a single update, trade rumor, or insider story. This is Buffalo Beat News, and as always, go Bills!